Let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're transporting ourselves to the sun-scorched village of Surajpur to dig into a truly profound story. It's a tale of moral endurance, karma, and ultimate redemption. I mean, what actually happens when sheer human desperation collides with deeply held values? We're going to break down a remarkable sequence of events that tests the absolute limits of human honesty. So, let's get into it. Picture this. It's March, right? And a relentless heat wave has absolutely gripped the village. We have Ratan, a poor laborer, living in this dilapidated hut with his wife, Seema, and their two kids. The drought has totally dried up the water, and with it, all the work. The family literally hasn't eaten in days. Seema is in tears because even their neighbors, who are struggling themselves, have shut their doors on her pleas for just a handful of rice. The physical and emotional heat here is just suffocating. It pushes Ratan out into the scorching sun with a solemn vow. He is not coming back without food for his starving kids. So I want to ask you directly, what would you do if you had to choose between delivering heavy sacks to feed your family or stopping to save an unconscious old man on the side of the road? Because Ratan manages to find a job from a wealthy merchant named Seth, but it comes with a super strict condition. Deliver 2 heavy sacks across a huge distance before noon or forfeit the pay entirely. His feet are burning, the heat is blistering, but halfway there he finds an elderly man lying unconscious on the forest path. This is the ultimate moral test. If Ratan stops, he misses the deadline and his kids go hungry again. If he walks away, the stranger's probably going to die. Well, Ratan makes his choice. He chooses humanity over money, risking everything, because he absolutely refuses to put a price tag on a human life. He literally carries the old man to the village doctor, totally abandoning his urgent delivery. Turns out, the man is Shyamalal, a really wealthy local landlord. The doctor is so impressed, he even offers Ratan cash for his heroism, but Ratan refuses. He says humanity just isn't something you trade for money. By the time he finishes the delivery, he's late. The merchant is furious and fires him without a single penny. Ratan goes home to the heartbreaking sound of his hungry kids. His pockets are completely empty, but his conscience, spotless. Now, this is where things get really interesting. The next morning, Shamala wakes up, hears about Ratan's massive sacrifice, and is just deeply moved. He heads over to Ratan's crumbling hut and offers him a permanent, highly respected job at his estate. But this sudden rise of a poor, honest laborer seriously threatens the existing power structure, specifically the estate's longtime accountant, Dharampal. While Ratan is operating purely on empathy and gratitude, Dharampal is driven by straight-up greed. You see, for years, he's been quietly embezzling the landlord's money, so Ratan's spotless honesty, it's a direct, immediate threat to his whole corrupt operation. And you know how these things go? Jealousy escalates incredibly fast. It goes from a quiet rivalry to a calculated framing, and even an attempted poisoning. Dharampal first tries to slip poison into Ratan's food, but Ratan is sharp. He actually notices rats and ants dying after eating the food scraps, which saves his life. When that completely fails, Dharampal orchestrates this really cunning backup plan. He sneaks into the estate's warehouse at night, hides several sacks of grain, and publicly accuses Ratan, who holds the keys, of theft. But Dharampal underestimates him. Ratan brilliantly exposes the plot by pulling an all-nighter in the shadows of the warehouse, catching Dharampal totally red-handed trying to move the stolen grain. And get this, Shyamalal had actually been secretly watching the warehouse too. He suspected Dharampal all along. After witnessing Ratan's unwavering integrity in the face of such a huge betrayal, Shyamalal doesn't just clear Ratan's name, he promotes him. He publicly declares that Ratan holds the authority of an owner, dropping this incredibly profound realization that good humans are truly God's greatest wealth. It's just a beautiful, validating moment where total humility completely wins out. But, as you might guess, Dharampal doesn't just quietly walk away. Stripped of his wealth, his status, and his pride, he stews in vengeance. He resorts to the ultimate act of sabotage. In his mind, if Ratan ruined his life, he's going to reduce Ratan's new domain to literal ashes. Armed with a bottle of kerosene under the cover of darkness, Dharampal sneaks right behind the estate's massive grain warehouse, splashing fuel all along the walls, totally ready to strike a match. The clock is ticking here. At midnight, the fire is set. By 1 a.m., the flames are towering, and the village wakes up to absolute, sheer panic. Remember, they are in the middle of a severe drought. The wells are practically dust. There's literally no water to fight a fire of this magnitude, and it threatens to burn down the entire village's food supply. By 2 a.m., realizing human strength just isn't going to cut it, the village priest leads everyone in desperate prayer. And then You almost wouldn't believe it, but thick black clouds suddenly roll in out of nowhere, lightning flashes, and a torrential downpour begins, completely extinguishing the roaring inferno and saving the village. Karma works fast, doesn't it? The aftermath is swift and incredibly dramatic. Dharanpal thought he got away with it, but a local shepherd actually spotted him holding the kerosene. When Shamalal calls a massive village gathering to confront him, Dharanpal tries to deny everything. But the guilt and the fear are just mounting. Right at that very moment, a massive thunderclap and lightning strike rattle the sky. Terrified that the heavens are literally coming for him, Dharanpal falls to his knees, openly weeping, and publicly confesses to setting the fire out of pure spite. Now, in a moment that totally subverts all our expectations, the very man Dharanpal tried to destroy offers him the ultimate grace instead of vengeance. The entire village is fully ready to condemn Dharanpal. I mean, he didn't just attack Ratan. His fire nearly starved the whole community. But Ratan steps forward, lifts Dharanpal off the ground, and delivers this stunning philosophy. He acknowledges the massive crime, sure, but argues that genuine repentance absolutely must be met with an opportunity to reform. It is a breathtaking display of empathy that leaves the villagers and Dharanpal himself in complete awe. Because look, forgiveness is really just step one, right? The actual work is the follow-through. And Dharanpal really transforms. He basically becomes a servant to the community. He cleans the temple at dawn, he assists the elderly, but his ultimate test comes months later during the harvest. A massive herd of wild boars attacks the village crops in the dead of night. Dharanpal, who is keeping watch, doesn't run away. He risks his own life, rallying the village and fighting off the beasts, saving their entire livelihood. The very man who once tried to burn their food is now literally putting his life on the line to protect it. This entire narrative started with a starving man making an impossible choice to save his stranger, and it ended with that exact same man giving his absolute worst enemy the space to become a hero. In a world that, let's be honest, often rewards ruthlessness, what is the actual price of holding on to our humanity? The transformation of both Ratan and Dharanpal shows us that while our mistakes can be catastrophic, the refusal to learn and reform is the real tragedy. It really forces us to ask, do the choices we make when we have absolutely nothing ultimately define everything we become? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking the big questions, and I'll catch you next time.